compilation.
Yes, we have compilation, whereby we use a compiler. We have compilation. Another one is
Interpreter.
another one is interpretation.
Interpreter.
Yeah, using an interpreter or a compiler. So those two methods can be used to convert a high level language into a low level language, or a low level code, or a source, or an object code. So we have compilers and interpreters, or compilation and interpretation. And when you talk about compilation, a compiler will convert the whole source code at once. It will converts it at once, but an interpreter converts it line by line. It reads it line by line and then runs it. And for a compiler, it does it once, and then you get what you call a source code or an object code. But for an interpreter, you have to run it every time that you are executing that program. So it converts it every time, and it does it line by line. Okay, let's move on. The next bit is asking for you to identify the features of an optical device, an optical disc that allows data to be stored. When you talk about optical, these are discs that use light technology, such as the CDs, the DVDs, and the Blu-ray discs, those that use light to store data. So what makes it fit, or what does it use, or what property does it have that will help it to store data among these ones? Guys, please pick up.
Yes.
Which one?
C.
C.
Yeah.
It is reflective. Yes,
Yeah.
that is the correct answer. Because of its reflective property, it means that it can reflect light. And magnetic optical discs do not use magnetic, but the hard disks are the ones that use magnetic property to store data. About being volatile, it is not volatile because an optical disc can store data permanently. Yeah. And then about being portable, yes, it is portable, but this is not the property that, or this is not the feature that makes it to store data. Okay, so the correct answer here was C. It is reflective. Define the term embedded system. What's an embedded system? Who can speak? Who can talk to us? Let me do it. Dwight?
It's
A
a
computer.
system that can only do one task.
Yes, that's a good. That's an answer actually. A computer system that can only do one task, or a specific task. Another definition. That's one definition. You can also define it as. You can also define it as a specialized computer system that is a specialized computer system that is part of a larger computer system and performs a specific task. An example of an embedded system is like the PS, the console PS that you normally play on weekends, the TV, the even in your cars, in your vehicles, we have embedded systems such as that is connected to the engine, the radio system, and so on. So there are so many embedded systems almost everywhere in every activity that we do, and normally they perform just a specific task. They are not like the general purpose computers. General purpose computers are like the laptops, the desktops that you are using. They can do a variety of activities, but for embedded systems, they are normally designed to do a specific job. And normally, to update an embedded system is not that easy in most cases, because they come with a firmware that is installed on the ROM of that computer, and therefore to update it is not normally easy. That's why when you want, for example, here we are in 2025, we have FIFA 25, I think. So with FIFA 25, when we go to 2026, there is another, you need to buy another system or another console, because it comes with that setup or that software that is embedded on the ROM of that computer. So normally, but for the computers that we use, the general purpose computers like the laptops, desktops, it is easy to update. For example, you can change easily from Windows 10 to Windows 11 and so on. But for embedded systems, it is normally not easy. Okay. A code review is carried out by a programmer or an automated system. Both methods cost money. Complete the table with one other disadvantage for each method. So one disadvantage is that the two methods, both of them, they cost money. So that's a disadvantage. And then the question is asking that you give another code review. It's like going through the code. For example, the code that we have here, you go through to ensure that it does what it is supposed to do, and it does not have errors. That is code review. So you can employ a human being. For example, I have a friend who works in Safaricom. Her work is just to review the system. She does not write programs, but she reviews. To review is like to test and to ensure that it does what it is supposed to do. And when it does not do, you report that it brings this error. So her work is just doing that. And so that's a human programmer who is doing that job. You can also employ automated systems to do the testing. So what is the disadvantage of using a human programmer, and what is the disadvantage of using an automated system to do the testing? Let's start with this one, human programmer. Disadvantage, apart from cost,
He might be biased.
yes, they might be biased. Sometimes because it is your friend who wrote the code, you might not test it fully, and therefore you end up being biased. That is true. Another disadvantage, is that humans are slower compared to automated systems. And then another disadvantage could be a human being can introduce some human errors in the code. Sometimes you are testing, and then instead of testing, you add some errors unintentionally. So it is possible that you can introduce some human errors. And it requires an experienced programmer. You cannot just take an amateur and tell them to test. So for that purpose, it means that you are an experienced programmer to do the testing. What about the automated systems? Automated systems are systems whereby you program them, or you can also write a program to test another program. So that's an automated system. And the disadvantage is that it might not capture all the necessary issues. And another disadvantage could be that it might only find those issues that have been programmed to, that it has been programmed to identify. So it might not find all the issues, it will only find whatever it has been programmed to find. And that is a challenge with those guys who use ChatGPT, because it does what you tell it to do, and if you assume it will know something, it might not know whatever you want, so it will do based on what you give it. So if you give it a vague information that is not clear, it will also give you maybe wrong results or something that is not complete. Okay, any question on that?
No.
Right. Identify the purpose of defragmentation software. What is to defragment?
No.
To defragment, there are some activities or some special softwares that normally perform specific tasks, and they help the OS. These kind of softwares are known as utility softwares. They help the operating system to perform its work effectively. For example, we have what we call those softwares that are used for file arrangement or file order or sorting of files. Those kind of applications are known as system software because they complement the operating system. So a defragmenter is a software that is used to do defragmentation, and when you talk about disk defragmentation, we mean that we are organizing the files into an organized structure. So you are bringing related files together so that they are organized. That is disk defragmentation. We also have disk compression or compressing, and this is a software that is used to compress files. I hope you understand what is compression, so that they occupy this space. So this is just the special software that helps to compress files so that when it is stored, they occupy less storage space. So this one will save on storage space. Encrypting is whereby you are now maybe putting a password or making the text or the files to be not easily readable by someone who does not have the key to decrypt. So the correct answer here is C. The purpose of defragmentation software is to organize data so that it is easily accessible. And defragmentation is a type of software that falls under the category of utility software. If we get time, maybe we can discuss different types of software when time allows, but if time does not allow, you can read on your own. Any question on that before we move to question G?
Excuse me, sir.
Sorry?
Excuse me, sir. In question E, in disadvantage by an automated system. What is the disadvantage?
Disadvantage of automated system. On
Yeah.
E.
What did you say?
Or the disadvantage I said, for this one, it might not capture all the issues that are encountered in the in the software, it might not capture all the issues that are encountered, that are found in the software. And then another issue is that it will only find errors that are programmed. It will only find those issues that are programmed and leave those that are not programmed, because it is like a programmed system.
Thank you.
Have you got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next is number G. Number G, one function of the OS is to manage processes. Describe one way in which the OS makes sure each process can use the CPU. Yeah, this is also a topic on the operating systems. I think it is on the same topic under computers huko mbele kidogo. So you need to understand the functions of the OS, types of OS, and so on. So I don't know if we can get time also to revisit this area so that we discuss it. Taona kama tutapata time to discuss types of software, the operating system, and so on. Mliniambia hata mjui kuinstall OS kwa computer. That one I can teach you practically. Waonyesha how to install OS. So here you are asked that you've been given the function of the operating system, and then you are asked how it works to ensure that each process can use the CPU. Sometimes there are several processes running at the same time. For example, like in my computer right now, you see we are on a Google Meet. I have opened some other files. So all those are processes. And how does the OS ensure that all these processes can share the CPU? Okay. One way to ensure that the processes share the CPU is to do what we call scheduling. Scheduling is whereby the OS will schedule and assign time slots to each process. So it will say you are taking this number of seconds or microseconds in the CPU. After that you get out, then and enters another program or another process. It takes maybe 2 microseconds in the CPU, gets out, and another. So it has what we call a scheduler that will align those processes into a queue, and then each process is given a number of a given time that it will spend in the CPU. After that time elapses, another process enters the CPU to be processed. Then the cycle repeats itself, and all this happens at a very high speed that you might not know. You might think that the OS is doing it simultaneously, but in real sense it is not simultaneously. It is one process at a time, but because it's at a very high speed, you think, from our human understanding, we think that it does it simultaneously. You got that point? Ama nimeongea kizungu mingi hapo? Hii silence imaanisha nimepotea ama nimepoteza watu? Mbona muongei bwana?
Naelewa.
Okay. Silence inakuwa mingi mpaka nashangaa kama nimepoteza watu. So hiyo swali, you just say that the OS has a scheduler, that is one mark, and then you say that each process is given a time slot in the CPU. That's another mark. Then you can add, kama umeiva sana, you can add and say that processes are given a counter or a schedule, so that we know the next, or they are given the priority so that we know the next process to enter the CPU, like that. Okay, another function, give one other function of the OS. So hii ilikuwa function moja and you are supposed to explain how it works. Manage, this one is managing the processes. Now give another function of the OS. There are so many functions of the OS, so you need to know them. Number one, another function of the OS. Mtu anaongea? Okay, one function of the operating system is what we call memory management. The OS will manage the memory, the main memory. Like if the main memory, maybe if you are running so many programs and then there is a main memory issue, so it goes back to the question that I gave you on Friday, whereby if the main memory is full or almost full, it creates a virtual memory on the external storage, or on the secondary storage, I mean, not external but secondary storage, so that other processes can be taken to the virtual memory, so that the main memory does not hang. So that is
What about
sorry?
what about file system management?
Yes, file system management is also part of the OS, and we've just talked about disk defragmentation, disk compression or file defragmentation, file compression, file sorting, and so on. So all those functions are part of the functions of the operating system. And then we have input and output management. So the OS will manage the input devices and also the output devices. Without the OS, you might not be able to see whatever you are seeing on the screen, because the OS is what controls that. It controls the input and the output of your system. Then it also ensures that there is a user interface. For example, we have the icons, the windows, the maximize, the minimize, and so on. All those are part of the OS functions. So it gives you the user interface. Okay, you can read on that, and if we get time, I think we can go through that topic. I don't know if we will ever get time, but I said you can create time and schedule time with me. I'm always available. Nilimaliza ukulima.
Okay.
Yeah. Saizi nilimaliza ukulima na ngoja kupalilia from next month. So next month ndo nitakuwa busy kidogo. But right now natulia tu. Okay. Complete the diagram with the 4-layer TCP IP model. So here you've been given 2 layers, the link layer, the internet layer, and then we have another layer here and another layer here. So which layers have been omitted? This one you need to know how it is arranged, and also you need to be able to explain what happens at each layer. Kuna kuanga na ya kwanza huku juu na kuanga gani?
Transport amani.
The first
Application.
one is application layer, and then after application layer you go to transport layer. Then after transport you go to internet, and then the link layer. So unafaa ujue the roles or what happens at each layer. Like the application layer inakuanga na the user interface, whereby we have some applications or some algorithms such as HTTP, file management system, FTP, even the email, IMAP, POP3, and so on. And then transport layer. You know what happens at the transport layer? Okay, because of time you will read on that. Also read on internet layer and then the link layer to understand that. So those 4 layers are very important. Then we have this question 2b. Identify the network topology that uses terminators to absorb signals. Kuna topologies kama ngapi hivi? Are they 3 or 4? We have star,
4.
we have star,
Bus.
bus,
Mesh,
mesh
ring.
and ring. Yeah, hizo 4 inafaa ujue arrangement kwa kuchora na kwa kuexplain pia advantages na disadvantages and how they work, the 4 network topologies. So which one of the 4 do we have terminators that will absorb the signal?
Bus.
Yes, it is the bus. Bus ni ile inakuanga na one long cable. Huko mwisho kunakuwa na terminators that will absorb excess signals so that they don't go back to the network. If they go back to the network, they will interfere with the data. So the correct answer here was the bus signal. Sorry, the bus topology. And the next question, taka tumalize hii tu alafu tufunge. Identify the reason computers are connected to a network. Hii ni rahisi. Mbona tuna connecting computers kwa network?
To access the World Wide Web.
Yes, to access the world wide web. Na hapa, which is the valid reason hapa? Mbona unakanga, mbona saa iko kwa network?
To reduce latency.
Latency ni nini kwanza?
Lag ama ni nini?
Latency is the lag or the sluggishness or the delay. Tuna connecting computer kwa network ndo to reduce delay. Okay, hapa hii swali iko tricky kidogo, inachanganya kidogo, but the correct answer is option D, to share peripherals. Sometimes peripherals ni devices tu zenye unaweza share kwa network. For example, the printer. A printer is a good example of a peripheral device. Like ukiwa home mko na computer kama 3 hivi, printer ni moja, you can share through a network. So that's a reason why sometimes inakuanga to share resources or to share storage. Sometimes it can also be to share storage. For example, you can have a network that will have a server that has the storage, and then the other computers can share from that. So the reason we connect computers to the network is to share resources or to share peripherals. But all these others, there are issues that arise from using computer networks. For example, when you are on a network, you now need to maybe to secure your files by encrypting. You can also encrypt to ensure that there is no hacking, and therefore, and about latency is just about reducing latency, like increasing the speed, so that if it was slow, it is now faster. So these are issues that arise from using the network, and you can enhance them. So the correct answer was D. So tuende tumalizie hapa. Acha tuende mbio mbio tumalize D. State the network protocol used to request a web page. Yes, ukiingia kwa browser unatumianga protocol gani?
HTTP.
Yes, we have HTTP or HTTPS, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Hiyo ndo protocol yenye inatumika kwa web server. Ikiwa na S inamaanisha iko secure, ikiwa bila S haiko secure. Sometimes unaingianga kwa website inakwambia, inakupea warning kwa machine, inakwambia this site is not secure, get me out of this. Ushaona vitu kama hizo? Ukiangalia hapo juu utaona it is HTTP, si HTTPS. But if it is HTTPS, it means it is secure and it won't give you that warning. Explain one benefit of a user using the IMAP to access emails. Yeah, we have two protocols of accessing emails. Number one is the IMAP and number two is the POP. We also have another one, zinakwanga tatu. Kuna ingine inaitwa Simple Mail Transfer Protocol or SMTP. So IMAP is used to allow emails to be accessed using multiple email clients. So when you have an IMAP, it means you can access your email from different computers, and the emails that are accessed using IMAP are stored on the server, meaning if you log in from any other device, you still get your emails. Okay, so the advantage is that emails can be accessed from multiple devices because IMAP does not delete emails from the server, so the emails remain on the server. And then another advantage is that it can be accessed through the browser or applications. For example, nimewambia mimi email zangu napatanga na kwa simu. Ukinitumia email napata immediately. Levan can attest to that, and Anthony can also attest to that. When you send an email, I respond immediately. Nisipo respond na kuanga tu sometimes nimeignore, lakini na kuanga nimepata. And that one I get through the app. But I can also, when I'm on my computer, I can access my emails through the browser. So that's an advantage. You can access the email from the app or from the browser. And then a factory has two file servers installed in an office. A closed circuit television, hii inamaanisha CCTV, monitors the factory. Explain one other method of physical security that could be used to protect the servers. Yeah, kuna server imewekwa kwa ofisi mahali fulani, and then wameweka CCTV as one way of security or securing the system or the server. Any other way in which you can protect physical security? Unajua kunakuwa na physical na logical security. So njia gani tunaweza protect hizi servers so that zisiibwe ama data yenye iko ndani isiibwe?
CCTV cameras.
CCTV washasema hapa. Closed circuit television. CCTV inamaanishanga hivi by the way. Closed circuit ndio CC TV. Yes? Mtu anasema nini?
Supervillain ama kuna supervillain ama wanasemaje kwa hiyo TV. Kuna hiyo TV kanoti kana ipanga civilian camera ama kwa TV hapo note.
Okay, you're talking about the CCTV cameras ama camera gani? Sijakupata. Okay, swali ishasema isha mention CCTV. So we will not also mention the CCTV because hapa closed circuit television ni the same thing na CCTV. Hii ndio full form ya CCTV. And okay, another method ya kufanya physical security is to have strong grills for the windows to ensure that kuna milango zenye ziko strong na pia ziko durable so that mwizi akikuja they cannot easily break in. Another way to improve physical security, you can use biometric systems whereby you cannot enter when you are not authorized. Lazima uweke kidole maybe ama the system can scan your eye so that you can enter. So you can employ the use of biometrics. Another way to improve physical security is whereby you can use what we call motion sensors, so that when someone enters that place, it detects and then sends an alarm. You can also add alarm as another way. So you can have alarms that will ring and alert the managers that maybe someone has entered a system or a computer server room. Mshaiona hizi nini za Safaricom, hizi boosters, hizi masatellites za Safaricom. Sometimes watu wanakujanga kutengeneza ama kuziservice. When you enter that system, inatumanga alert kwa headquarters, inasema kuna mtu ameingia kwa system mahali fulani, and therefore if you are not authorized wanakukujia haraka, lakini wakijua tulikuwa tumetuma mtu, wanajua tu ni wewe umefika hapo. I had a friend pia aliwork huko kama intern wakati tulikuwa nafanya internship, so walikuwa wanaenda kuinstall zile maboosters wakiziservice pia. Okay, another question, alafu tufungia hapo. Inauliza network speed is the current rate of data transmission measured in bits per second. Define the term bandwidth. Okay, you are just supposed to define the bandwidth, and bandwidth is also measured in bits per second, just like speed, but the definition is different. So the definition of bandwidth is that the maximum amount of data that can be transmitted per unit time. That is bandwidth. Maximum amount of data that can be transmitted per unit time. It is also measured in bits per second. Maximum amount of data that can be transmitted per unit time. Chatumazia hapa. High speed fiber optic cables form the internet backbone. Uti wa mgongo wa internet. Routers connect other networks to this backbone. Hii statement inamaanisha routers connect other networks to the fiber optic. Describe how routers enable data to arrive to its destination. Hata hii story tu ni story, but swali iko hapa. Kazi ya router ni nini? Hiyo tu ndo wanakuuliza hapa. So because of time I will go through very fast. So kazi ya router, kitu ya kwanza, hata unaweza toa tu from the word route. Route inamaanisha nini? Route ni njia, si ndio? From your English. So a router will read the data destination and the data destination and source, and therefore route or provide a way to the destination, provide a way for the data to arrive to the destination, and it will know the destination by reading the IP address, the destination IP address. So the router will read the destination IP address and try to route or to pass the data to that address or to that location. And a router will also have what we call a routing table, and a routing table will contain the known IP addresses so that files are transmitted to that destination. And routers use the route that is fastest and it has the least congestion. Sometimes transmit data on a network, it normally moves using different routes. Inatumianga njia mingi. It is just the same way ukitaka kwenda tao, kuna options mingi. Sometimes kuna jam kwa hii main road, you can use another route. So the router will also use the same policy. inaangalianga njia gani iko congested, then zile data packets inazipeleka through the most appropriate route. Inaangalianga the fastest kwanza, ikipata the fastest iko congested, inatumia an alternative route. So that's how the router will ensure